the way back from my last patrol. At the time, of course, I didn't know who he was. He called himself Bill Smith. But his real name is Buck Crowley. Here's a circular on him.
Ah, so the American authorities want him, too. Where is this cabin of his located, Sergeant?
2 miles north of the Peel River.
Oh, it's away in the middle of nowhere. What do you suppose he's doing up there?
Hard to say. Maybe the Crowley's pals plan to meet him there later on. Or it may be that each of them's holed up in his own hideout, waiting for the hue and cry to die down.
What's your plan, Sergeant?
First thing we're going to do is arrest Buck Crowley and bring him back to Dawson. Get your gear together and be ready to hit the trail within an hour.
All right, Sergeant.
The same day that Sergeant Preston set out from Dawson with Constable Blake, Buck Crowley received a visitor at his cabin. The visitor was one of the 3 gunmen who had helped him hold up the Yukon Express Company's gold shipment. His name was Mike Jerome.
Jerome, what in blazes are you doing here?
Hello, Crowley. Hitchcock was getting worried. He's wondering why you haven't shown up at Grand Forks with the gold.
Why, that... I never promised him I'd be there by any particular time.
I know you didn't, Buck. But me and Quenter and Whitey have all cashed in our share of the bullion. You're the only one who hasn't shown up. Hitchcock thought maybe something had happened to you.
Well, he was wrong. I'm just taking it easy, that's all. Besides, I was taking care of a sick Mountie for down there 2 weeks.
You were doing what?
You heard me. I said I was taking care of a sick Mountie. I found him passed out in the snow, just about dead with pneumonia.
And you brought him here to the cabin?
Certainly I brought him here. What else did you expect me to do? I couldn't let him die out there in the snow, could I?
Buck, sometimes I think you're plenty smart, and sometimes I think you're just plain crazy. You think nothing of drilling a Mountie during a holdup, and then you turn right around and play nursemaid to another one.
Oh, forget it. I just did it for a laugh.
For a laugh?
Sure. It was really funny. Imagine a Mountie living under the same roof with a guy that's wanted for murder. Not only that, he thinks I'm a wonderful guy. Says he hopes he can pay me back someday.
Boy, you sure have got a queer sense of humor. What do you think that Mountie's gonna do when he finds out who you are?
Ah, stop worrying. I told him my name was Bill Smith. How'll he ever find out who I really am?
I'll tell you how. By looking at your picture in the post office at Dawson.
What are you talking about?
In case you don't know it, the Yanks are after you for that shooting up at Nome.
What?
They've issued a circular with your picture on it. I saw it myself just before I came up here. It says wanted. Buck Crowley, $500 reward.
Oh, holy smoke. I better start growing myself some whiskers right now.
What if that Mountie comes back here looking for you?
I've got a hunch he won't do that.
Why not?
Because I saved his life, that's why. But just in case he does, we'd better make tracks out of here.
Mike Jerome stayed at Buck Crowley's cabin overnight. The following morning, the 2 crooks prepared to head south. Jerome helped Crowley load the latter's share of the stolen gold bullion on Buck's dogs.
Is this all the gold? It's enough, ain't it? Here, put it right down on top of that last load, and I'll cover it all over with a tarp.
All right. Got lucky that Mountie didn't run across this stuff when he was staying here.
If he had, he'd never have gotten over that attack of pneumonia.
Why not?
Oh, sudden complications would have set in.
Such as lead poisoning?
What do you think?
Well, joking aside, Buck, how long ago was it that Mountie left here?
Let's see, it's been over a week. About 9 or 10 days ago, I guess.
Well, that means he must have just got back to Dawson by now.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Why? I was just wondering how soon he might come back here. If he does come back, that is.
Even if he spots that picture right away, it'll still take him another 9 or 10 days to make the trip back here.
I guess our trail ought to be pretty cold by then.
Sure it will, so stop your worrying. Come on, let's get out of here.
Okay, Buck. I'm ready whenever you are.
All right, Don Jake. Line them up, boys. That's it. Now then, mush, you huskies. Mush! Mush!
8 days later, Sergeant Preston and Constable Blake arrived at the abandoned cabin. They halted their teams a short distance away and looked around for signs of life.
I wonder if he's home, Sergeant.
I'm wondering the same thing. I don't see any sign of his dog team.
Maybe he's gone hunting.
We'll soon find out. Come on, King.
King ran forward and nosed suspiciously around the door of the cabin. He sensed that the cabin was empty, but he also discovered that the owner of the cabin had another visitor since his master had left.
Too bad there are no windows in the place. You can see whether anyone's inside.
The way King's acting, the cabin's empty.
Just the same, we better not take any chances. I have my gun here.
Stand back, so he'll be out of his line of fire if he is inside. I'll knock on the door. Apparently he is gone. Well, let's take a look inside.
As Sergeant Preston opened the door, King rushed forward into the cabin, ready to shield his master from any unexpected dangers.
Go on, Tom. It's all right. If there were anyone inside, King would have smelled him out.
Still plenty of food on the shelf. Yeah, and look. Left his pack of cards lying on the table.
Yes, but there are no blankets on the bunk.
Maybe he went out hunting for a few days and he's planning to come back here.
It's possible. Tom, I'm wondering if Buck Crowley had his share of the gold hidden somewhere around the cabin while I was staying here.
Say, that's an idea. If he did, maybe it's still here. Let's take a look around.
A thorough search soon proved that the gold was nowhere in or around the
Said he
cabin.
was
Well, if he had
resigning,
the gold here,
and then he went right back to work.
In that case, he must have cleared out for good.
Canadian
He
resignation.
probably
He
headed north
resigned.
to the border.
We don't have to
Boss,
guess
he
about
went
that.
back to
That's
work.
one thing King can tell us.
No vaccines.
Bill Smith,
Canadian
boy.
vaccine
Bill
clinic.
Smith, the man who lived here. Which way to go? Come on, let's go outside and see where he points.
That's funny. Crowley must have gone south.
Well, don't forget, Tom, the American authorities are looking for him, too. They may think it's too risky to cross the border into Alaska.
Oh, that's right. I'd forgotten about that. But if he's not going out that way, what the dickens does he intend to do? He'll never get by the inspection post at Chilkoot Pass or White Pass with that load of bullion. And he certainly can't carry enough supplies on his sled to try beating his way out through the wilderness.
The answer would seem to be that he intends staying in the territory. Come on, Tom, there's no use wasting time trying to guess what he's up to. Only way we'll ever find out is go after him.
I guess you're right, Sergeant.
King! Line up the team, fella. We're going to hit the trail.
Line, tall guy. Line the team.
Aye!
On King. On.
Buck Crowley's trail was 8 days old, and the tracks of his sled had long since been snowed over. But King's sensitive nostrils enabled him to follow the outlaw without difficulty. The trail led south across the frozen surface of the Peel River, and then veered southwest toward Dawson City and the Gold Creek.
There's like a half a dozen
Eventually,
dogs
it ended
missing
at Grand
sitting.
Forks, a mining community which had grown up at the junction of El Dorado and Bonanza Creek, not far from Dawson.
What's the matter with King, Sergeant? He found something?
I'm afraid he's lost the trail. Once a dog gets to a busy place like the Forks, it's pretty hard to untangle all the different scent.
Well, at least we followed him this far. I wonder why in thunder Crowley should come here.
May have just stopped off for supplies, but somehow I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Looks to me like this is the place he was heading for.
Tom, has it occurred to you that gold bullion is a very unnegotiable form of wealth?
What do you mean, Sergeant?
No miner ever melts down his gold into bullion. He either uses his gold directly as money, or else he cashes it in for paper currency. Imagine what would happen if Crowley or his pals tried to cash in a bar of solid gold, especially a bar stamped with the mark of the Yukon Express Company.
They could always file off the stamp mark.
Even so, they'd have some tall explaining to do.
I guess you're right at that. But they must have some way of getting rid of the stuff.
Unless they leave the territory, the only outfits that will take that bullion off their hands are banks or shipping companies.
There are no banks in Grand Forks.
But there is a shipping company. The Yukon Express has a branch office here.
By golly, that's right, Sergeant. Do you suppose Crowley and his pals are in cahoots with some employee of the Express Company?
I don't know, Tom, but the idea is worth looking into. Let's stop in and have a talk with the manager of the Express office.
Corruption.
A
Treason.
short time later, the sergeant and the constable halted their teams outside the express office in Grand Forks.
Let me do the talking, Tom.
All right, Sergeant.
Ezra Hitchcock, the manager of the express office, was fat and elderly. His face was framed between carefully tended gray side whiskers, while a series of chins bulged down over his collar. He stared at the two Mounties suspiciously as they approached the counter.
Are you the manager of this office?
That's right. Ezra Hitchcock is my name.
I'm Sergeant Preston, Northwest Mounted Police. This is Constable Blake.
What can I do for you, gentlemen?
We're trying to put a stop to some of these petty gold robberies that have been taking place on the creeks. We thought maybe you could help us.
Why, certainly. I'll be glad to do what I can.
So far, we haven't been able to get the goods on any of the suspects we've arrested. Trouble is, they apparently cash in the gold dust as soon as they steal it.
I see.
In all probability, a good many of the thieves have cashed in their loot right here in this office.
I wouldn't doubt it, Sergeant. We do a tremendous business with the miners around these parts. And, of course, we have no way of checking up on their credentials.
Do you keep a record of every transaction? I mean by that, do you record the name of every person who cashes in gold?
We do if they ask for a bank draft. Otherwise, if they just want to exchange their gold for cash, we write down the amount of the transaction and let it go at that.
Oh, that's too bad. I was hoping we could use your records as evidence. Who is it that actually hands out the money on these transactions?
Why, I do, Sergeant.
In other words, no one can cash in gold in this office without your knowledge and consent.
Well, that's right. Why do you ask me that?
Well, I was just wondering if you might be able to identify any suspects we bring in.
Well, I have a fair memory for faces. I dare say I could tell you whether or not they've been in here.
If you can do that, it'll be just as good as finding the gold in their possession. Thanks very much, Mr. Hitchcock. We won't bother you any farther.
No bother, gentlemen. No bother at all. Good day.
Bye.
Bye, sir.
Drive down to the end of the street, turn around the corner, and then start.
One thing, on your right, okay. Rescue. Taking Jimmy.
Okay, hold on. Oh, that's good.
Well, Sergeant, what do you think?
I have a hunch that Ezra Hitchcock's our man.
You don't suppose Hitchcock got suspicious when we were there?
I don't know. He's certainly no fool. Wouldn't surprise me a bit if he saw through that story I told him. That's why we're stopping here.
What do you mean?
If Hitchcock really does have the roundup, there's a chance he'll try to communicate with Crowley. If that happens, he may lead us to Crowley's hideout.
That's a smart idea, sir.
Let's hope it works.
Suppose he can spot us here if he comes out of his office?
No, not necessarily. If we keep back behind the corner of this building.
Sergeant, he's coming out now.
Yes, I see him. And he's calling that boy.
Looks like he's handing him a message or something.
Stand back, Tom, so he won't see us. We'll stop the boy as he comes by.
Oh, we're safe. He's going back in his office.
Well, hello there, son.
Oh, hello. Who are you?
Sergeant Preston, Northwest Mounted Police. This is Constable Blake. What's your name?
Joey.
Well, Joey, we're working on a case. I wonder if you'd help us.
Gee. Yes, sir, I'd like that.
Fine. What was it that Mr. Hitchcock gave you just now?
It's a note. He told me to take it to a man named Buck.
He did, eh? They tell you where to find this man?
He told me I'd find him in a shack at the end of Stony Canyon. That's about 3 miles out of town.
Yes, I know the place. Let me see the note, Joey.
Yes, sir.
What does it say, Sergeant?
2 Mounties just came to the office and asked me a lot of questions. I think they're wise. You and the others had better clear out of the neighborhood immediately. Signed, Hitchcock.
Gee. Does that mean Mr. Hitchcock is working with a gang of crooks?
Looks that way, Joey. The man you were supposed to deliver this note to is wanted for murder.
Golly. What should I do now, Sergeant?
Just lie low and keep out of Hitchcock's way. I want him to think you went ahead and delivered the note, just as he told you to.
What about you two? Are you going to capture the crooks?
We're going to try.
Gee. Can I come with you?
I'm afraid not, Joey. We'll tell you all about it when we get back. All right, Tom, let's go.
Sergeant Preston and Constable Blake headed out of town in the direction of Stony Canyon. A few minutes later, Ezra Hitchcock emerged from the express office and went to a room located on the 2nd floor of a nearby building. He knocked on the door.
Hitchcock, what are you doing here?
I'll tell you in a minute, Crowley. Are the other 3 here?
Yeah, they're all here.
Good. Let me come inside.
What's up, Hitchcock? Yeah, something wrong?
And plenty's wrong. A Mountie named Sergeant Preston is in town.
Sergeant Preston.
Yes, he's got another Mountie with him. They came to the office a little while ago and asked me a lot of questions about cashing in gold. They're wise to the whole game.
Holy Mac, what's that? What are we going to do?
Just a minute, I'm not through. I've laid a trap for them.
What kind of a trap?
I figured Preston would be watching to see if I got in touch with him. So I wrote a note addressed to you. I gave it to a kid and told him to take it to you in that shack at the end of Stony Canyon.
What happened?
I went back in the office and watched out the window. Sure enough, Preston intercepted the note. He and the other Mountie are on their way out to Stony Canyon right this minute.
What's the idea?
Now Preston knows for sure you're in on the deal. When he comes back from the canyon, the first thing he'll do is arrest you and try to make you talk.
Preston isn't coming back from that canyon. Not if you four do your parts.
What do you mean?
There's only one entrance to Stony Canyon. It's strewn with big boulders. The shack is at the other end. When the Mounties come back from looking at that shack, I want you four to be hiding behind those boulders with guns. Do I make myself clear?
Yeah. Plenty clear, Hitchcock. Plenty clear.
Half an hour later, Sergeant Preston and Constable Blake arrived at the shack and found that it was deserted. The sergeant realized at once that he had been tricked.
No one's lived here for months.
Afraid Ezra Hitchcock is smarter than I thought.
What do you mean?
That note was a trick. Just wanted to get us out here to the canyon.
But why? You mean to gain time?
If that's all he had in mind, we'll be getting off lucky.
How so?
We may have walked right into a death trap, Tom.
Death
trap? There's only one way out of this canyon. That's the way we came in. The entrance is narrow, and it's strewn with boulders.
Right, Sergeant. It's a perfect setup for an ambush. Do you think we can fight our way out?
We may have to, Tom. In any case, I'm glad we have King along to help us.
The two Mounties left the shack and headed their teams back toward the canyon entrance. About halfway along the canyon, Sergeant Preston called a halt.
What's up, Sergeant?
Loosen your carbine in his boot and be ready to try not to give the impression that we're on guard.
Right, Sergeant.
King! Listen, fella, I want you to run ahead of the team. Up there, fella, way ahead. Understand? That's it, boy. That's the idea.
What's your plan, Sergeant?
If they're trying to take us by surprise, they won't shoot at King. They'll try to hold their fire until we come within range. The King will smell them out and go for them, even though they're hidden. That'll give us a chance to get a beat on them and take cover before they start firing.
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's mush.
On, King! On, you husky!
King was running a good 50 yards ahead of the two teams. Suddenly, as he entered the narrow defile that led out of the canyon, he veered right and charged toward a clump of boulders.
Hey, hold on! He's coming right at us!
Two of the crooks were hidden behind the boulders. King leapt at them, snarling and slashing viciously with his fangs. The sergeant saw what had happened.
Oh, you huskies, come on, grab your carbine and follow me.
Right, Sergeant.
The two Mounties made a rush toward the scene of the struggle, dropping behind boulders every few seconds as they ran. Shots rang out from the other side of the canyon.
Hey, there's two more on the other side of the canyon.
We'll take care of them later. Get him away from me! I give up! Just lie still and he won't hurt you. Come on, Tom.
The other crook was sprawled on the ground, clutching his shoulder in pain.
Your shot busted my shoulder.
You're lucky I didn't aim between your eyes. Tom,
Yes.
I'll pick up handcuffs on these two to keep down while you're doing it.
The shots from the other side of the canyon entrance had ceased momentarily. The sergeant questioned his two prisoners.
Who's over there on the other side of the canyon?
One's my drum. The other's Buck Crowley.
What about Hitchcock?
Hitchcock. Wouldn't catch that fat toad around here when there's any shooting going on. He stayed back in town.
What's our next move, Sergeant?
I don't know, Tom. Looks like they've got us pinned down.
Isn't there any way out of the canyon except through that cut?
Take a look at those cliff walls. They're almost straight up and down. It's the same way all around the canyon.
What about going farther down?
Right into that trap.
Maybe we could cross over the other side and circle around
There
behind.
was two
There's
of you.
only 100 to 1 chance we could make it. We may have to take that chance.
King had been watching intently as the two Mounties discussed the situation. He sensed that his master was trapped, unless the two men on the other side of the canyon could be driven out of their hiding places. The great dog acted almost automatically.
King!
He's charging straight across the canyon.
You'll never make it.
As the great dog sprinted forward, a rifle glinted on the other side of the canyon.
On, King!
Both the sergeant and the constable saw the movement and fired at the same time.
We got one of them.
Mounties expected the other gunman to continue the fight. Instead, they saw Buck Crowley stand up suddenly from behind cover with his hands in the air.
Don't shoot, Preston! I surrender!
King had already reached the rocks where Crowley and his companion had been hiding. The sergeant shouted to the husky.
On guard, King. Watch them, boy. All right, Crowley. Walk forward slowly and keep your hands in the air. Tell your pal to do the same. He can't. He's wounded pretty bad. Then tell him to lie still unless he wants trouble with King. You, Crowley, start marching.
Buck Crowley advanced slowly across the canyon to the spot where the two Mounties were waiting for him with leveled carbines.
Well, sir, I didn't think we'd be meeting again quite so soon.
Sorry it had to turn out like this, Buck. That's the way it goes.
Sure, I understand. You get feeling like you.
When you go up for trial, I'll do my best for you. The judge may be lenient when I tell him how you saved my life.
thanks.
What about the other man, Sergeant, the one King's got?
I'll go over and take charge of him into town and bring him back here.
Right.
The two men watched silently as Constable Blake crossed to the other side of the canyon. Finally, Buck Crowley said,
Can I lower my hands now, Sergeant?
Can I trust you?
Why not?
All right. Guess you can lower them.
as Crowley lowered his hands, a gun slid from the sleeve of his pocket. But he had failed to see King's approach. The great dog leaped forward, knocking his gun off the saddle.
Good work, boy. I've got his gun.
Sergeant, you all right?
Yes, I'm all right, thanks to King. On guard, boy.
Please, Senator Preston, get him off me. I would try any more tricks.
Sorry, Buck, but I don't think I'd better trust you anymore.
What in the world happened, Sergeant?
He had a gun hidden up his sleeve, and very foolishly I let him lower his arms. The gun dropped into his hand, and he fired at me.
Yes, and I'd have killed you, too, but it hadn't been for that dog.
Yes, I imagine you would, Buck. You know, I didn't like this assignment. Went against the grain to have to arrest a man for murder who had just saved my life. In fact, I told the inspector I was going to resign from the force after I brought you in.
What?
Yes, Tom, I told him I was going to resign from the force. But Buck's actions have changed my mind. Just between the two of us, Tom, I'm mighty glad this case is closed.
Now, here's Sergeant Preston with a preview of our next adventure. The case of the unwilling guardian.
When King and I started up the White River, we knew the three crooks were planning to steal Bill Cameron's gold. We didn't know their plans included murder until we saw Bill in the middle of the stream, in danger of being swept into the rapids and over the falls. The Devil's Cauldron, a great whirlpool, was waiting at the foot of those falls. It was a situation that called for fast thinking and fast action.
Be sure to listen to this exciting adventure Wednesday. These radio dramas, a feature of the Challenge of the Yukon Incorporated, are created and produced by George W. Trendle, directed by Fred Flowerday, and supervised by Charles D. Livingston. The part of Sergeant Preston is played by Paul Sutton. They are brought to you every Wednesday until September, when we shall resume our regular Monday, Wednesday, and Friday broadcasts. This is J. Michael wishing you goodbye and good luck. Tip.
You're listening to Chin Radio AM 1540, the voice of multicultural Toronto, bringing you the latest updates on COVID-19. Stay informed, stay safe, and stay tuned to Chin Radio AM 1540.
Around Dodge City and in the territory on West, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke.
We would have to. There's a lot of layers to what we're working on.
Like an onion, music has many layers to it, but it's true. When you listen to music with
l'État dans la France d'outre-mer, eh bien figurez-vous que pour mes étudiants en master, c'est la première fois.
J'ai fait l'analyse après quand il a 1 mois.
Oui.
Oui.
Has ordered a man to compensate his divorce-seeking wife for the housework she did during their marriage in a landmark ruling.
Seeking the divorce.
$7,700 US for a divorce seek. $5 years, actually. So this is something.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, Matt, if you refresh the Burley, the TikTok intro is in there. So I'll just read this like I was going to normally. Let me ask you a question. Beep, beep, beep. Do you guys have tattoos?
No.
You do not, Shane? Matt, do you have a tattoo?
I've got, a whole bunch. I've got, I get one arm's covered. one arm's half covered. Got one on the back of my neck. Got one on my finger.
Nice.
Where else? There might be some other ones I'm forgetting about.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that because there's a trend on TikTok right now. So let's check it out. Good morning. I'm Ryan O'Donnell with today's
TikTok.
I'm going to break it down for you. I have a tattoo. It's one big one on my arm, but I want more. But I'm very thoughtful. You know, if I'm getting a tattoo, a lot of thought goes into it. Laura just got their first tattoo, and I told Laura, the second it is on you, you are going to want another one, which is exactly what has happened. But Laura started thinking, oh, I could just get this one here. I'm like, no, wait. And then eventually, oh, yeah, we'll wait again. But a Kentucky woman decided that she would compete in an ongoing TikTok trend. It's a challenge. And it's simply, what is your dumbest tattoo? And show it to us. And I don't think you could possibly have a dumber tattoo than what this poor woman has.
What is the dumbest tattoo that you've ever gotten?
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys know that I won. So I got this tattoo. I've wanted it for a couple of years. Basically means like, being true to yourself and real and like not pretending to be something you're not. I got this March 4th, 2020. And it says, courageously and radically refuse to wear a mask.
Oh my God. How inconvenient. That's the Curb Your Enthusiasm moment right there. Just boom, boom, boom. I feel so bad because that tattoo obviously has meaning to her. And now, if she's in public, somebody's going to read that and be like, are you an anti-masker? Well, she told a local news network, I am not anti-mask, I promise. She shared her unfortunate ink because she, quote, just kind of wanted people to laugh with me because I think it's pretty funny now, too. I think it's hilarious. It's like kind of one of those, well, that sucks, but man, it's funny. I love it. There's been some other, go ahead, man.
Sorry to interrupt there. And it's so impulsive. Like, that's the opposite of thinking, like, of taking a long time to think about it. It's like, that's the same thing as being drunk one night and being like, yeah, let's get friends forever on our boobs. And then you wake up and you're like, yeah, it just says beans forever or something like that.
Beans, yeah, it's completely wrong. Beans. I do kind of want one silly tattoo. I don't know what it is yet. I just think I'll see a funny design and I'll be like, yeah, put that on my ankle, or put it on a weird part of my arm.
Tattooed all over your entire foot.
I do want, Nike has a logo where it's a smiley face, but the mouth is the check, and I kind of want that.
You should. No, I mean literally, like you should get like tread tattooed to the bottom of your foot, and laces up the top of your foot, and have your whole shoe be like a Nike sneaker. Your whole foot be a Nike sneaker.
Whoa! God, that would hurt. That could look cool, or it could also look super dumb.
Shane, that was way better than my idea.
Oh, what was your idea?
Yeah, let me hear it.
You should get a tattoo of Calvin. You know Calvin, the cartoon character of Calvin and Hobbes.
Calvin and Hobbes,
the cartoon strip. You should get a tattoo of Calvin peeing on a sticker of Calvin peeing on a truck.
Oh, that's very funny.
That's good. Or because I live in Alberta, I'll have Calvin peeing on a sticker of Calvin peeing on an NDP logo, because that's what you see on every truck.
That's what you see on the trucks, right? Like, I don't know why Calvin hates the NDP, but he really does.
Or the or local sports team.
How about a couple of tattoo typos, like the live with no regrets, and the never don't give
beautiful. Up.
No regrets.
Are you jealous?
No regrets. Yeah.
No regrets. It is my life, John Bon Jovi. Oh, actually that's even wrong too. It says it is my life, John Bovey.
John Bovey. John Bovey. Nobody can forget the 1980s legend John Bovey with his hit "Living on a Dare."
It's get better. Only God can fudge me. These are real tattoos.
Nobody's
perfect.
We might have
knowledge is power.
Tattoos.
It is. Knowledge is spelled Knowledge. Knowledge is power.
Oh dear.
Here in my heart, except it's HAERT. Heart.
In my heart.
Life Life It What You Make It. Oh my God, these are good.
Yeah, so there you go. If you have a dumb tattoo, let me know. The other one I saw is a girl had a trampoline tattooed on the one part of her hand and a stick figure on the other. So every time she opened and closed her hands, it looked like the stick figure was jumping on a trampoline. It's the dumbest thing. That's really dumb, but super funny.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's just in a weird spot, but just to like look at someone and like have a stick figure jumping on their hand all the time. Wonderful.
Even when they're a grandma.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a funny moment.
Yeah.
Well, kids, that'd be a fun story.
Look what I can do.
Now, I got a throwback. Kinda. The Mighty Ducks are back.
Oh.
Kinda. Not the NHL team. The movie. Also kinda, because it's not a movie this time. Disney Plus got the rights. Well, obviously, because Disney made the Mighty Ducks movies. 1, 2, and 3. Emilio Estevez, classic sports movie, spawned the greatest jersey and logo in NHL history. That's my favorite. But they're making a movie. Sorry, I keep getting this confused because the marketing on this was a little confusing. It's a new TV show coming to Disney Plus, and it's called The Mighty Ducks Game Changers. So here's the first question.
The Ducks are a powerhouse organization with a record 10.
Carpet bed inside. Steve, here, let's have a look.
We're picked up by a trucker, and we ended up going to this little restaurant that was nearby in Pontevin. And we just chose it because it was the only thing nearby. There was a little house, and you walked up the steps, and it was lunchtime, and there was only one menu, so we didn't have any choice. And we said, of course, yes. And the first thing that came out was some melon and some very thinly sliced ham, like prosciutto. And the next course.
Well, listen, if we don't find anything, then we'll ride off back to town. All right. I still keep getting a faint whiff of wood smoke from somewhere. Sure wish we would find the fire. Getting colder than the heat. Wait a minute. Look over there. Oh, I swear. It's fire, all right. Or what's left of one, Mr. Dillon. You suppose it's here? I don't know. Let's leave the horses here and go up on foot, huh? All right, sir. There's nothing moving. No signs of life. They couldn't have left too long ago. That fire would have burned itself out. Well, I'd say we're too late, Mr. Dillon. I think they've gone. Yeah, it looks that way, all right. Yeah, half hour or an hour ago. Made a fast camp, stayed long enough to warm up, and then What was that? I don't know. Here, over here, Chester. There's somebody lying on the ground.
Help me. Help me, please.
There. Throw some brush on the fire, Chester. Here, sure. No, it's all right, miss. It's all right now.
3 of them. Robbed the state. Killed the driver and the guard. Brought me with them.
Anything I can do, Mr. Dillon? No, Chester, I'm afraid not. For the love of it. Chester, get...
On her friends. The next step seemed almost inevitable.
Yeah,
I like that angle to it. Very cool.
Me too. So we'll see. Hopefully it pans up for him. Matt, we got time for this last one on Grand Theft Auto? Or are we going to save her?
Yeah, what the heck? Let's go for it.
Okay. I can just basically summarize too. There is yet another attempt to try to ban Grand Theft Auto and violent video games A House bill filed by Illinois State Representative Marcus Evans Jr. is looking to ban the sale of all violent video games in the United States. Here's a little breakdown from IGN.
As reported by the Chicago Times, Evans filed HB 3531, which looks to amend a 2012 law that prevents the sale of some video games to minors. This amendment would ban video game sales to anyone if the game in question depicts, quote, psychological harm and or motor vehicle theft with a driver or passenger present. Yeah, sounds like GTA. The bill also outlines a new definition of a violent video game, which would be one where players, quote, control a character within the video game that is encouraged to perpetuate human-on-human violence in which the player kills or otherwise causes serious physical or psychological harm to another human or animal.
It's the dumbest thing. They're doing this because there's a jump in carjackings in the area. And so he says, oh, it must be Grand Theft Auto to blame. No, the reason that's happening is because there's systemic issues in your community and you're putting the blame on a video game. You know what else you can do in Grand Theft Auto? Get in a blimp, fly it to the edge of space, jump out, and fire fireworks out your butt as you fall from the sky. Exactly. It's not just the video games here. This is a whole nother topic. This bill's obviously going to fail, but...
Well, you know, it is a cultural conversation. I mean, your example, I think, is a great example of how that's just not accurate, what they're blaming. But I mean, as video games get more violent, you know, I've said it many times that my son will make a joke about a shotgun. He's never held a shotgun, right? Like, yeah. So it does create some false narratives there. And, you know, it's probably a valid conversation for violence in general, but I don't think it's any worse than nonstop onslaught of cop shows with guns on TV at 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, exactly. It's you can't blame it here. But I do think kids need to be playing less violent video games at younger ages. I started playing Call of Duty at 16, and I was raised on Mario, Call of Duty. Easy transition into violent video games. Good work, Mom.
Great work, Mom. You also sniff sneakers, so questionable. New sneakers. We'll be right back on the shift.
We're here for the Night Owls.
That was better than any one of us could do by ourselves.
Do you think that if you had really good business sense, Chez Panisse could have become what it did? Did it need an idealist at the helm or a certain amount of naivety to achieve what you did?
I think that the most important thing is not thinking about making money. I never, ever have thought about that. Even
that's a very privileged position to be in, though, isn't it? A lot of restaurateurs have to think about it.
Well,
that's one of those bullshit.
Please, Marshal, hey, let me get a lantern lit. I'm just fixing to lock up the stable and go over and grab myself a bite to eat. Running things alone again tonight. The confounded boy didn't show up. And like he's not drunk and clean. There. Now, come on, Marshal. I got a fire going back in the office. Come on back. Set us straight.
I'd like to, Calvin, but we don't have time. I'm looking for some horses.
Well, I got them, Marshal. You want to buy, trade, or hire?
Just look.
Yeah.
There are 3 fellows staying over at the Dodge House. They've been there about a week. Ed and Rio Parks and Chuck Evans. They're keeping their horses here.
Here they are, right back here. And if I ever saw a ruination of good horse flesh, this is it. There. Take a look there. That one belongs to the oldest Parks boy, Ed, and the one next to it's Rio's. They've been rode, Mr. Johnson. They've been rode plenty.
Yeah. What time they come in, tell them?
Well, about an hour ago, more or less. Gone since forenoon, just come back a little while ago. Look at that horse, been rubbed down twice. He's still wet.
They didn't say where they'd been.
No, that's them. They ain't the talking kind. Just left their horses and went on over the hotel. Well, wherever they was, though, they must have been riding like the devil himself was chasing them.
Well, maybe he was. Thanks, Mr. Carter.
Yeah. No.
Well, I guess there's not much doubt of it, Chester.
No, sir. It was them, all right.
And I could have stopped it before it...
Chaque mois, vous êtes près de 19 millions à vous informer sur France Info avec votre smartphone. France Info, plateforme d'actualité numéro 1 sur smartphone.
Source médiamétrie des ratings. France Info, 9h30 midi. Camille Rosel.
Dans un instant, le brief politique avec Neila Latrousse. Et oui, autour d'Emmanuel Macron, on pense à 2022, à la présidentielle, on y pense, mais on n'en parle pas. Il est 11h-10, le fil info, Pauline Renoir.
La France referme un peu sa frontière en Moselle. Test PCR obligatoire en arrivant d'Allemagne. Ça commence lundi et ça concerne tous les déplacements non professionnels. La Moselle, où la circulation du virus inquiète particulièrement, comme dans une dizaine de départements. Jean Castex doit donner une conférence de presse ce soir avec le ministre de la Santé. On a tout fait pour ne pas en arriver là, mais je comprends la mesure. Le témoignage du maire de Dunkerque sur France Info à la veille du premier week-end confiné.
En Afrique centrale, au Congo, professeur Elira Dokekia, ce sera le mot de la fin. L'espoir pour les patients, pour les soignants face à l'hémophilie aujourd'hui. Vous diriez que c'est quoi?
C'est d'abord le dépistage précoce, pour éviter les complications, pour éviter le dépistage tardif, le dépistage des formes silencieuses, le dépistage des conductrices, c'est-à-dire au sein des familles, de voir quels sont les porteurs des dames qui portent les filles, qui portent le gène anormal et qui peuvent faire des garçons atteints d'hémophilie.
WiseTech Group offers migrating to cloud solutions.
An unparalleled service from their help desk support.
Listen right here Sunday mornings at 11 as WiseTech Group presents the IT Support Show.
Or email anytime, help@itsupportshow.com.
Hey, Gugu, what do you tell a teenager about cannabis?
Okay, I'm playing Haboot Cannabis. Music.
Okay, Gugu, stop the music.
Looking for tips on how to talk with your teens about cannabis? Visit drugfreekidscanada.org for more tools to help start the conversation. drugfreekidscanada.org.
It's dark out, but we'll keep the lights on. It's The Shift with Shane Hewitt.
On the Shift Daily Podcast, are you okay with shaming a bad lynx? Well, I'm not okay with them taking the lynx back to the chickens. It'll make sense coming up on the podcast. How about roller skating beat cops? That's also a part of Are You Okay? We had a great conversation with author Michael Losier, Law of Attraction and more, books he's written, helping us understand that affirmation, what it is, how it affects our lives, and how we can use it to our...
Éric Piolle, le maire de Grenoble, soupçonne même Emmanuel Macron de vouloir dynamiter ce qu'il reste comme bloc politique constitué, de vouloir faire une OPA sur l'extrême droite avec les débats actuels sur l'islamo-gauchisme ou la mollesse de Marine Le Pen, et puis de tenter en fin d'année une OPA sur l'écologie avec le référendum sur le climat. À droite, si vous interrogez le président du Sénat, Gérard Larcher, sur cette idée d'union nationale, il n'est pas fan non plus et il vous dira attention, car l'union exclura de fait les extrêmes. Et le risque pour lui, c'est que ces extrêmes deviennent ensuite la seule incarnation de l'alternance. Donc Emmanuel Macron va devoir trouver autre chose. La vidéo du jour. Je vais vous parler de Joël Giraud, le secrétaire d'État chargé de la ruralité.
Bonjour à tous, c'est la pause rurale.
Un ministre, un coq, un drapeau français, un générique de dessin animé et donc une minute d'explication diffusée par Joël.
Et même si tu pars, je reprendrai ma...
Priorité santé.
Acting in common voice. I miss you when you're off. Thanks for all your knowledge, which I so appreciate. Getting smarter. Keep it up, cutie. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you to everybody who contributes to the show, which is Jason Sparklepants Manalis, Catherine Stewart. We've got Ryan O'Donnell assembles all the content. Techno producer Matt, who on Throwback Thursdays is like busy, and everybody else who's a part of the show. Coming up tonight, conversation around allyship, how we can learn to change all the relationships in our lives. Plus, we're going to get into our what the hell should we watch this weekend and so much more. Now, Ryan likes to sniff shoes. And in that...
New. One more time, Shane. Just a friendly reminder. New
shoes.
Thank you.
Rob asks, can Ryan smell a knockoff? That would be a skill. And we were talking about our favorite smells. last word goes to Cam in Brampton, who called in to say he loves the smell of a good prime rib on Sunday afternoon. It's a beautiful thing, my friends. We love the food on the shift. Now, in salute to Ryan and his shoe sniffing, we'll finish the show this way. I'm Shane Hewitt. Enjoy your Thursday. Crush it. Come back and tell us all about it on the shift tonight. Good morning.
Woke up cold one Tuesday. I'm looking tired and feeling quite sick.
Deuxième tendance, Philippe, l'effacement du poids du diplôme.
Oui, alors même s'il reste quand même toujours très important, hein, surtout en France, en comparaison avec les pays anglo-saxons où on s'intéresse davantage à l'expérience. Mais c'est vrai que d'après Job Teaser, qui a interrogé une cinquantaine de DRH et 11 000 candidats, avec la crise, le poids de ce que l'on appelle les soft skills s'est accru et ça va continuer. Les soft skills, ce sont ces compétences comportementales comme l'adaptabilité, l'esprit d'équipe, la rigueur, l'empathie, l'écoute ou encore l'esprit d'entreprendre.
Et pourquoi ces qualités sont-elles plus importantes aujourd'hui?
Parce que le monde du travail a connu une révolution avec la crise sanitaire, qu'il a fallu s'adapter à un environnement nouveau, que les postes changent toujours plus vite. Pour ça, un diplôme ne suffit pas, il faut des gens qui sachent évoluer sans cesse.
Dernière tendance, le poids toujours croissant des CV Tech. Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Des plateformes, des réseaux où les candidats déposent leur CV, le plus connu évidemment est LinkedIn. Les recruteurs interrogés dans cette étude les plébiscites, déjà incontournables. Ils vont être au centre des processus de recrutement. Il faut désormais y peaufiner une véritable marque personnelle.
Philippe Duport, spécialiste travail de France Info pour C'est mon boulot, 10h56, 11h-4 et en direct du Monde. Et en Suisse, la Suisse qui a vu une chute historique de sa fréquentation touristique en 2020, pandémie oblige, moins 40% de nuits d'hôtel en moyenne, moins 78%, même à Genève au 4e trimestre. Alors pour y remédier, le pays prend les devants. Il mise sur un tourisme plus durable, plus local aussi. La Suisse lance même, Jérémy Lanche, son label pour attirer les vacanciers.
Oui, il s'agit de Sustainable, contraction, vous l'aurez compris, de Suisse et de Sustainable, durable en français. Le label fonctionnera un peu comme une vignette critère, avec plusieurs degrés de durabilité pour les établissements concernés. Tout le secteur touristique est invité à jouer le jeu. Il peut s'agir d'hôtels qui réduisent leur consommation en eau, de restaurants qui se fournissent avec des circuits courts, ou bien des stations de ski qui limitent leur empreinte carbone. On a par exemple en Suisse le premier téléski au monde qui fonctionne grâce à l'énergie solaire et qui en produit même. En fait, la Suisse part d'un constat, c'est que le développement durable influence de plus en plus le choix des destinations vacances. Et la Suisse, avec son air pur, ses barrages hydroélectriques et son offre pléthorique de trains, serait, selon le directeur de Suisse Tourisme, une championne cachée de la durabilité.
Bien cachée même, hein, Jérémy, parce que la Suisse se targue d'être l'un des meilleurs élèves en ce qui concerne le recyclage et les produits bio, mais derrière l'image de carte postale, la Suisse n'est pas complètement verte.
Alors elle est sans doute vue du ciel avec beaucoup de taches blanches puisque les montagnes représentent le tiers de la surface du pays. Mais quand on y regarde de plus près, il y a beaucoup de choses qui ne sont pas si durables que ça. La Suisse est un des plus gros émetteurs de CO2 au monde si on prend en compte pas seulement les émissions produites sur le territoire national, mais aussi les émissions importées. Si tout le monde vivait comme le font les Suisses, il faudrait les ressources de plus de 3 planètes. Si on en revient au tourisme, là aussi la Suisse n'est pas si durable que ça, avec une clientèle d'affaires qui vient souvent de très loin pour des conférences internationales à Genève et à Zurich. Le secteur est aussi très dépendant de la clientèle venue de Chine. Les touristes chinois représentent jusqu'à 90% du chiffre d'affaires de certaines boutiques de montres. Quant aux Suisses, eh bien, s'ils ont largement passé leurs vacances dans leur pays en 2020 à cause de la pandémie, ce n'est pas toujours le cas. Avec un fort pouvoir d'achat et l'un des principaux hubs d'EasyJet en Europe à 15 minutes du centre-ville, les Genevois peuvent par exemple partir en week-end dans n'importe quelle capitale pour presque rien. Il faudra donc un peu plus qu'un label pour que le tourisme suisse fasse sa mue vers la transition écologique.
En direct du Monde en Suisse avec vous, Jérémy Lanche.
Blue Zone Home makes it easier to stay in the home you love with renovations created.
Not liking it much right now.
Your home will maintain its value while appealing to future younger owners. Every project designed by Blue Zone Home provides a unique blueprint for your specific needs and interior design style. Choose to stay in the home you love. Book a free consultation with BlueZoneHome.com. BlueZoneHome.com.
At Volvo, we are always prepared and ready to help. And we want to make shopping for your next vehicle feel as safe as it would be driving it. So join us.
Search for his identity. Tony May was only a few days old when he was abandoned by the River Thames in London in 1942.
Who on earth abandoned me? What did you do that for?
He was desperate for answers, and that really struck me.
Fasting in every club, and when then pulled you over after a couple of drinks. Ollie.
Through the facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Join us again next week as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal, fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. More Godfrey. Yes, starting tomorrow on most of these same CBS radio stations, there will be more Arthur Godfrey and his gang, presented by CBS Radio for our Sunday listeners. Folks who are regular Arthur Godfrey fans know there's been a 30-minute roundup of Arthur Godfrey time, Sundays at the Star's address. But starting tomorrow, there'll be 30 minutes more with Arthur Godfrey and all the wonderful Arthur Godfrey gang. This is Roy Rowan speaking. And remember, Lionel Barrymore is your host on the Sunday Night Playhouse on the CBS Radio Network.
Appointments this week, not just in Alberta, but Quebec and Manitoba too.
Well, social media refusing to go into a hotel quarantine for 3 days once landing in Canada. While travelers won't get arrested for breezing through Canada's busiest airport in Toronto, it could cost a lot more than the hotel stay.
Since coming into effect on...
You're listening to Chin Radio AM 15 Cultural Toronto. 19. Stay informed, stay safe, and stay tuned to Chin Radio AM 1540.
Minutes, but holy. You seem to you're just looking and waiting.
The story you're about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. Fatima Cigarettes. Best of all, king-size cigarettes brings you drag.
Dope peddlers, all you cops and dope peddlers. It's a known
targets as they work together to make the world more sustainable.
So the focus for us over the next 2 months is going to be looking at how we can go farther based on assessment of what things we think provinces and territories would be willing to do in terms of enhanced ambition, what we can work on together with the United States.
Wilkinson met virtually Wednesday with his U.S. counterpart, John Kerry.
Against the Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's dismissal of the military leadership on Wednesday, calling for him and his government to resign. It said Mr. Pashinyan's decision was based on his personal ambitions and failed to take into account the national interests of the Republic of Armenia. Nikol Pashinyan responded by saying that the statement by the armed forces amounted to an attempt at a military coup. He has called for his supporters to gather in the center of the capital, Yerevan.
European Union leaders are under pressure to boost the coronavirus vaccination program as they prepare for a virtual summit later. Germany's best-selling newspaper Bild ran a headline half in English, half in German, acknowledging the much faster rollout in Britain, telling the British, "We envy you." A scientific advisor to the German government, Professor Thomas Merter, told the BBC that a reluctance to take the AstraZeneca vaccine meant that more than 1 million doses remained unused.
We have about 1.4 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine in store, and only about 240,000 have been given to the people. That's the problem definitely at the moment. But we are working quite hard, try to convince the people to.
World news from the BBC. Federal prosecutors in Germany have charged a man with handing over technical details of the German parliament building to Russian military intelligence. They said the suspect, named only as Jens F., worked for a company maintaining the parliamentary estate. He's alleged to have downloaded floor plans onto a memory stick and taken it to the Russian embassy in Berlin. The BBC has seen a letter written by Princess Latifah, the captive daughter of the ruler of Dubai, asking British police to reinvestigate the disappearance of her sister 20 years ago. The letter, which dates from 2019, says Princess Shamsa was captured in England on the orders of her father and flown back to Dubai. She hasn't been seen in public for more than 2 decades. The state funeral has taken place in Rome of the Italian ambassador to the Democratic Republic of Congo. Luca Attanasio, his Italian police bodyguard, and a Congolese driver were killed when a United Nations convoy was ambushed on Monday in the volatile east of the DRC. Italy's new Prime Minister, Mario Draghi, was among the mourners at the funeral service. The organisers of the Tokyo Olympics have confirmed that the Games torch relay, delayed because of the pandemic, will now begin next month as planned. Spectators are being asked to clap rather than cheer, and the event could be suspended if crowds become too large. The International Olympics Committee has also given more detail about what athletes can expect. Its Vice President, John Coates, said vaccines would be encouraged before arrival, but wouldn't be a condition of taking part.
Not compulsory, we can't do that, but it's certainly being encouraged. The athletes will only go there 5 days before. They will leave when their competition is over. They will be tested before they leave, tested on arrival, tested every 4 days. They will only be in the Olympic Village and their venue. They won't be going downtown.
BBC News.
If you've ever been to business school or taken a psychology class or a nursing course, you're probably familiar with Maslow's pyramid of human needs. It's an iconic image in management studies, a pyramid that shows a progression upwards from basic needs like food and shelter to higher social needs like a need for love and respect, and eventually at the high.
Lots of stuff. Keep him busy.
Keep him busy. Working, bloggering,
Trying to keep track of what's going on in the world.
Yeah, you know,
all that stuff.
You have a really good, and I've seen this, and I think the idea is really kind of cool. Radio Garden is like a Google Maps of music and talk radio. It's kind of a neat idea. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this is, I think it's been around for a couple of years. I don't know why I've never stumbled onto it before, but Radio Garden is really, it's just...
Author of Encountering America, A History of Humanistic Psychology. David Baker is Emeritus Professor of Psychology and former Director of the Cummings Center for the History of...
Who's got the original note, Joe? The crime lab. They're checking it for prints and handwriting. Hi, Joe Romero. In the living room. Thank you, John. That's the way I see it, Mr. Sullivan. You understand exactly what you have to do now? Yes, I'll do as you say. All right, sir. Here are the two men who will help you. Sergeant Friday and Romero, Central Homicide. All right, Mr. Sullivan. Introduce. Mr. Brown, are you sure about all this? I keep thinking he might get frightened. He might do something to her. Believe me, Mr. Sullivan, it's the only way. I know how you must feel, but we can't do anything else. All right. I want to see Mrs. Sullivan first. Will you excuse me? I'll be ready in a moment. All right, fine. What is it, Chief? Any development? Right here, in the dining room. Yeah? That's it on the table. Second note from the guy. When did it come? Half an hour ago. The guy had it delivered by a special messenger, used a plain envelope. Messenger kid didn't know anything about it, doesn't remember what the guy looked like. Let's see, Joe. Yeah, all right. Says, meet me in Elysian Park, 5 o'clock this morning near Balkan Drive. Come alone, bring 30,000, will return girl. Don't tell the cops, I'll kill her if you do. It's the same signature, Wolf. Not much time, Chief. It's 4 a.m. now. I know, that's what we'll have to do as he says. There's no other way. Sullivan's going out there alone, is it? You're going with him, you and Romero. You'll be hidden in the trunk of his car. All right. Anything else? Any plan you want us to follow? Get him, that's all. went out back to the garage where Mr. Sullivan's car was parked. We jammed ourselves into the trunk compartment and Brian closed the door on us. The latch was rigged so that we could push open the door from the inside. A few minutes later, Mr. Sullivan came out, got in the car, and we drove off. At 3 minutes to 5, we pulled up at the designated meeting place up in Elysian Park. We waited. Nothing happened. 5 minutes past 5 a.m. Still nothing. Outside, it started to thunder. Rain starting. Windy. Joe, are you here? Yeah. A car coming up the road toward us softly. Yeah. Wait a minute. Coming over this way. Yeah, sounds that way, doesn't it? Are you ready? Right. Easy.
There's no air to that truck, these guys.
Friday, come out. Chief, that's you? Yeah, come out. Here you go. Look, man, I'm breaking. Back in the leg. Here you go. Mr. Sullivan, you want to drive back home? We'll contact you there. Yes, sir. All right. Come on. Let's get over the car. What's the story? Did he scare off? The guy had no intention of following through with me. How come? He told us he phoned a couple of minutes before 5 a.m. We tried to trace the call. He wouldn't stay on the line long enough. Well, what do you have to say? A couple of things. Number one, he wants more money. Number two, he knows we're working the case. What was the reaction? Claims he doesn't care. We'll never get him anyway. Well, how's the thing stand now? $50,000. He wants it in the next 12 hours. More than 16 hours have passed since word of Judy Sullivan's abduction has been phoned into homicide. During that time, an APB containing the descriptions of the suspect, his car, and his victim had been dispatched to law enforcement agencies throughout the entire area. The same descriptions were being broadcast every hour. The Sullivan home had been placed under strict surveillance, and Mr. Sullivan instructed not to contact the suspect without the knowledge of the police. The girl's father had raised almost $10,000 in cash to buy him off, and the serial numbers on each one of the bills had been copied by a police stenographer and rechecked by a homicide officer. So far, the Wolf, as he called himself, had made 3 separate contacts, but he'd covered his tracks well. We knew he was somewhere in the city, 450 square miles of it. We knew we had to find him. 6:18 a.m., we checked back into homicide. What's doing, Brian? Here's a copy of the letter, fellas. Special delivery came in about 25 minutes ago. Let's see, huh? It's the same handwriting, looks like. Check the postmark, Joe. Must have mailed it right after he grabbed the girl. Let me see. Stay away from Sullivan. If the girl's found dead, it's your fault. Stay away, Wolf. Can't seem to make up his mind, huh? They checking the original of this for prints, Tom? Yeah, no word yet. How about that second note? Anything on there? Uh-huh. Stahl lifted a couple of prints running them through R&I. So who's watching Sullivan House now? Gomez and Thaxter. Chief's out there, too. He's still afraid the girl's father will try to make a deal with the guy. He tried it yet? No, not yet. Well, you couldn't blame him if he did. He's worried sick. I'm got it. Homicide, Romero. Yeah, that's right. How do you spell it? Okay, right. Yeah, thanks a lot. Record Bureau. Those 2 prints Stahl lifted from the letter, run them through the single print file. Tell you what, they gotta make. The fingerprint that was lifted from the suspect's letter was identified as belonging to a Donald Alfred Kiefer, WMA, age 29, 5 feet 8 inches, 170 pounds, brown eyes, dark brown hair. He had 1 previous arrest for forgery in Los Angeles 10 months before. At the time of his arrest, Kiefer's occupation was listed as bank clerk at the Third National Bank. Well, I went down the hall to the Record Bureau to pull the crime report. Brian checked my latent prints to see if they'd gotten anything off the last note from the suspect. Ben went to check with John Meyer in handwriting. 7:23 a.m. Chief Thad Brown got back to the office. I showed him Kiefer's crime report. All right, what's the rundown on it? Well, at the time Kiefer pulled the forgery job at the bank, Mr. Sullivan was one of the vice presidents. He was the one that preferred charges against Kiefer and saw that he was prosecuted. Where's this Kiefer now? Well, let me check that. He was placed on probation on May 16th this year. He returned to his home in Omaha, Nebraska. That's 1380 Mackinac Avenue. You call Omaha? I got the call in now. Ben took an exemplar of Kiefer's handwriting from the package. Don Meyer's going over it now. Chief? Hi. What about that last note? I've got the report right here. How's it look? Well, Stahl looked at some prints off it, brought him out with the iodine fume gun. They match with the first. There's something else. What's that? They examined the paper for watermarks and texture. Both notes are written on the same paper. Impressions show both pieces of paper from the same tablet. Check the density of the carbon in the pencil he used. Both specimens match, same pencil. Joe. Oh, hi, Skipper. Hi. Did you catch up with Don Meyer, Ben? Yeah, he went over the handwriting. Looks pretty good. What's the word? It's as close as you can get. Here are the two exemplars. Francis crosses, double loops as L, open A's, pressure on the downstroke. Donald Kiefer, the wolf, same handwriting. By noontime, Donald Kiefer's description had been broadcast throughout the entire area. Bulletins were dispatched to all departments and a supplementary APB was gotten out. Special details were stationed at every post office in the city to watch for notes from the suspect that might come through the mail. The bus depots, railroad terminals, the airports, and all main roads leading out of the city were kept under strict surveillance. The entire Los Angeles area was broken down into single square-mile districts, and a house-to-house canvass was started. A squad of men were assigned to cover each square mile. Outlying towns and cities were requested to do the same. By 4 o'clock that afternoon, one of the greatest dragnet operations in the history of the city was underway. We were sure Donald Kiefer was somewhere inside. 5:12 p.m. We got the call back from the Omaha police. That so? Again, please, what was that? 6 X-ray 419 Nebraska plate. Right. Fine, Lieutenant. Thanks. Bye. They made the car? That and a lot more. The Omaha cops are looking for Kiefer, too. They want him for a robbery there 2 months ago. He used a stolen blue sedan in the robbery, 1939 model, Nebraska plate, 6 X-ray 419. What about his family and friends? Have they been checked? Yeah, they say Kiefer left Omaha about 6 weeks ago. I don't know where he was headed. We better get that car description of communications, huh? APB and a radiogram? Yeah, right. Friday, Romero? Yeah. What are you tied up with? Just got a call back from Omaha. Make on Kiefer in the car. Give it to me. You two get out to Sullivan house as fast as you can. See Harris out there. Okay, what happened? Mr. Sullivan, he's disappeared.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action.
Millions heard it, yet only 54 have written.
Starting on Dragnet over 2.5 months ago, on September 20th to be exact, Fatima made a special money-back offer to more than 10 million listeners. The results? Amazing.
Millions heard it, yet only 54 have written.
If you smoke king-size cigarettes, listen to Fatima's famous offer.
Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy their extra mildness and superbly blended tobaccos. If you're not convinced Fatima is better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking, just return the pack and the unsmoked Fatimas before January 1st, and we'll give you your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1.
Remember, thousands and thousands of Americans are switching to king-size Fatima, insisting on Fatima quality.
So compare Fatima yourself. When you see the difference, taste the difference, smoke that difference, you'll switch to Fatima.
Because in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Look for the bright sunny yellow pack. Buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Wednesday, October 19th, 5:48 p.m. Ben and I drove out to the Sullivan home, where we checked with Bert Harris, the man who'd been assigned to watch Mr. Sullivan. He told us that at about 3 o'clock that afternoon, the father of the missing girl had a phone call. He said he had to go down to the bank, and Harris went with him. While they were at the bank, Mr. Sullivan succeeded in decoying Harris with a fake telephone call. While Harris was answering the call, Sullivan disappeared.
Did Mr. Sullivan get any more money while he was at the bank, Bert?
Yeah, $5,000.
Did you get the serial numbers off the bills?
I shouldn't have let him get out of my sight.
Yeah, forget it. Right now, we got to find out where he's gone to meet Kiefer.
Did you talk to Mrs. Sullivan about it, Bert?
Yeah, says she doesn't know anything about it.
Where's she now?
Back in the sitting room, lying down.
Now, let's try her again, huh? She might be able to help.
Okay, it's back this way.
What time you got, Joe?
It's 5 minutes past 6. I get it.
Hello? How's that? Yeah, where are you? What? Oh, well, where are you? Where are you? Yeah?
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Mr. Sullivan, he met with Kiefer out in Laurel Canyon. Did he get his daughter back? Yeah, he did. Wrapped in newspaper. All units in the area were notified immediately that a contact had been made with the suspect, Donald Kiefer. We got in the car and we drove out to Laurel Canyon. The entire area had been blocked off. We found Martin Sullivan standing in the middle of the road at the end of East Winding Way. 500 feet down the hill was a private residence where Sullivan had telephoned us, the only building in the immediate vicinity. A few yards beyond the point where East Winding Way ended, back in a clump of tall grass, we found the body of 22-year-old Judy Sullivan. We notified the crime lab, Chief Thad Brown, and the coroner. Despite the severe emotional shock, Mr. Sullivan told us the story. He said Judy was all right. I believed him. I wanted her back. Judy. I tricked the officer, the one watching me. Kiefer said to come alone, no police. Did you see his car, Mr. Sullivan? I wanted her back. I wanted Judy back. I did as he said. I drove out here at 6 o'clock. I waited. I put the money on the front seat, like he said. Did he get the money, sir? Then I got out. I left the parking lights on. I stood up there by the end of the road and I waited. And then he drove up. He took the money. And then he came up to me. He had a gun. I wanted Judy back. He had a gun. Did you see his car? He said she was up there. Beyond the road, she was tied to a tree, he said. I wanted her back. Now look, Mr. Sullivan, did you see his car?
I went to look for Judy. He drove away. She wasn't there by the tree. I couldn't find her. No, way back. I just saw the bump on the way.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Lord, let me find him. Oh, Lord, let me kill him.
Before he collapsed completely, we showed the dead girl's father a picture of Donald Kiefer, and he identified him definitely. The information was immediately relayed back to Central Division and rebroadcast over our entire radio system. Teletypes were dispatched to sheriff's offices and communications sent to law enforcement agencies throughout the country. 9:52 p.m. The house-to-house search was intensified. The dragnet operation in which we hoped to trap the killer was drawing slowly inward. A few minutes before midnight, Ben and I drove back downtown to the crime lab to check with Lieutenant Lee Jones.
Hi, fellas, I'm back. Anything yet, Lee? Just checking over these towels here. Found them wrapped around the girl's body inside the papers. Funny thing about them.
What's that?
All yesterday's papers. Every story about the girl's disappearance has been clipped out.
How about the towels? Any laundry marks at all, Lee?
Nothing so far, Joe. Every one of them clipped off. Morgue post the body yet?
You're doing it now.
Nasty one.
Oh, it sure is. Any footprints or tire marks out where they found the body?
No, lots of them. Got two of the men checking them now. One thing.
What is it, Lee?
I don't know. Under the seam here, this towel. Wait a minute. Give me that pair of snippers, will you, Joe?
Yeah. Here you go.
Thanks. Press back under the seam here. There. That's one tag he missed.
Yeah, can you read the marking?
Greenway Apartments, Los Angeles.
12:34 a.m. We located the Greenway Apartments in the East Wilshire district and we checked with the manager. He identified Kiefer's mugshot, but he said he hadn't been home to the apartment since the day before. We called the crime lab and we went up to check the suspect's apartment. One look was enough. Lieutenant Lee Jones found specimens of the Sullivan girl's blood in the wash basin and the bathtub drains.
In an adjoining garage, we found the car which Kiefer had used. A blue sedan, Nebraska plates, 6X-ray 419. A cancellation of the want order for the car was issued and a stakeout placed at the apartment in the garage in case Kiefer decided to return. All that night and into the next day, the citywide dragnet went on. There was no sign of the killer. At 10 minutes past 2 that afternoon, the first piece of ransom money showed up. It was at a used car lot on the corner of Beverly and Naylor Streets. 2 hours later, another piece of the money turned up at a busy downtown department store. In both cases, the man who passed the stolen money was finally identified as Donald Kiefer. Details were strengthened in both areas where the money appeared. The search went on, 6:42 p.m. Then I got a call to meet Chief Thad Brown at the Hollywood Division Station. Tommy Bryan from Central Homicide was with him.
This is the way it stacks up now. This pin map over here, this is where we're concentrating the search. This area here. How about the lead we had on him downtown? Didn't it work out? No, the last 20 minutes we picked up 3 possible leads on the man out in this neighborhood here. East of Vine, south of Franklin, west of La Brea, north of Santa Monica.
More ransom money show up?
You got it there, Brian. Read it off.
Yeah. 5:35, Sunset and Highland. Newsboy thought he saw Kiefer crossing the street. 20 minutes later, a sales girl in the diamond store up on Hollywood Boulevard thought she saw him. 10 minutes after that, he was reported seen near the intersection of Hollywood Boulevard and Las Palmas.
You figure the reports are reliable?
They were all checked out. Didn't put too much faith in him until a few minutes ago.
How's that? $5 bill was passed at a cigar store, Hollywood Boulevard and Hawthorne. Ransom money. We've already doubled the number of men and cars in the area. Men stationed at every intersection to keep an eye on pedestrian traffic. We're covering everything. Streets, stores, covering the whole neighborhood.
I'll get it. Homicide, Brian. Yeah, just a minute. You, Chief.
No. That, Brian? Yeah. Where? When was that? No, stay there. We'll be right there. Goodbye. Another piece of ransom money.
Where'd it turn up?
A theater on Hollywood Boulevard between Fairview and Hawthorne.
Who passed the money? You think it was Kiefer?
They're positive. They say he's in the theater right now.
The information on Kiefer was phoned into communications immediately, and within a few minutes, men and cars converged on the neighborhood. The 1/2 mile area around the theater was completely blockaded. Every exit and entrance to the theater was covered. 7:23 p.m., Ben and I, along with Chief Thad Brown and Tom Bryan, met in the theater manager's office. Brown outlined our plan of operation. At 7:32 p.m., a detail of 14 men walked down the side aisles on the main floor of the theater and took up their posts on either side of the orchestra pit. The picture was stopped and every light in the theater was turned on. Chief Brown, Bryan, Gomez, Thaxter, Ben, and myself went down the aisle and up onto the stage. Chief Brown made the announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you all be quiet for a minute, please? We're sorry to interrupt the picture, but this is a very important matter. We're police officers. Maybe you've read about it in the paper. A girl by the name of Judy Sullivan was abducted and murdered the day before yesterday. We think we've traced the man who murdered her to this theater. We believe he's in this theater now. We're going to search the theater row by row, and we'd like to ask your cooperation. No need to be panicky or afraid. Those who wish to leave now may do so. Leave on the main entrance. Each one of you will be checked as you go out the door. For the benefit of the man we're looking for, don't try to escape. Every exit is covered. The entire area is blockaded. Don't place any more lives in jeopardy. All right, now. Hey, right there! There you go! There! Outside exit!
Come on, Ben.
Backstage, Joe. We can make it from there.
All right, come on. Through here. Yeah. Down here.
Right with you.
In here. Come on, over here.
Air conditioning unit for the theater.
Yeah. I don't see him, do you?
No. You can't get out. There's just 2 exits. We got them both covered.
Look out. There he is.
All right, keep her holding it.
All right, throw your gun over here. Come on, throw it out.